So my name is Becky Ramsey, Executive Director of Assessment and Analytics and Program Evaluation at Spokane Public Schools. So one of my primary roles is to work with our superintendent and school board to create and present a clear data story that connects our strategic plan and school board priorities to the community. And we know, as Dave and Momo have mentioned, data and analytics are just so much more than charts and graphs. When well done, it can become a story. In Spokane, we often talk about the importance of telling our own story of public education, because if we don't clearly tell that story, others are telling it for us. So I'm really excited to be here to talk about our partnership with ThoughtExchange. We have been working with ThoughtExchange for over a decade, primarily use ThoughtExchange to elevate community voice during key moments such as bond and levies, the hiring of a new principal, or large-scale system change like adjusting boundaries. So earlier this fall, us, like many districts, were taking a hard look at our budget and exploring ways that we could reduce costs, eliminate redundancies. And during that process, Dave heard we were kind of on the fence and came out to Spokane to meet with our superintendent and said, I've got to share with you what we can do. I don't think you guys are fully aware of what we're doing in Thought Exchange. And we got to see Discover. We got a demonstration from Momo, and we were sold. I work with lots of different data tools and AI platforms in K-12, and I have not yet seen another solution that combines that level of deep, actionable insight with a true partnership and thought partner. So, one of our most recent projects
Yeah, so
is,
let's
oh,
let's speak into some of the key pain points that you were just about to speak to your recent project, but go
yeah,
ahead. Yeah.
yeah. So we had been, like many districts around North America, battling, the anxious generation. Our kids today have seen increased isolation. The pandemic just brought it to a larger light, with increased time on screens and access to social media. We know our kids are struggling with mental health challenges more than ever. We also know that through the pandemic, returning to school and attendance, we're also struggling with low attendance rates. So, about 3 years ago, we started our Engage IRL initiative, which was launched to see if we got students off of screen. We knew if we got students off of screens, we needed to replace it with something else. And that was extracurricular activities. So we doubled down on our investment in extracurricular activities and not just clubs and sports or what you would think of as traditional athletics. We have looked at truly what are our students interested in to provide over 1,000 different extracurricular options for our students, K-12. And through our partnership with Thought Exchange, saw this was a great opportunity to use Discover and really look at multiple sources of data, including attendance, grades, assessment results, and use Discover to see if we were getting that return on investment, which really what we thought we were hoping we would see is those improved student outcomes.
Yeah, so maybe we could take a look inside, Becky. This was kind of, if I wanted to put an infographic to represent the thing that we were working on together, because showing you in the actual product user interface, you might not be able to see the visual of actually what we're trying to do. But really, Becky came to us and said, hey, we have a plethora of secondary and elementary climate surveys from a bunch of different schools. What if we took our district plan? What if we brought in the context of the Engage IRL background and then gave you some structured data around our student achievement and attendance records? And then here are some of the things that we'd like to know. We'd like to know attendance, achievement comparisons, specific activities that actually move the needle, the climate impact, motivations, personas, and recommendations. And I think, Becky, do you want to speak to the 80% target too that you guys had as like a initiative for the project as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. Our goal was to to our long-term goal is that 80% of students will be engaged in at least one opportunity outside of the traditional school day in our extracurricular activities.
So just to reiterate, this is just an infographic to show you what's actually happening in the product. But what if we actually go and take a look and show you some of the results that that Becky and I came up with. So let me just share my screen to this other page. There you go. Okay. So you should actually see a glimpse into the product now. And what you're actually looking at is some of the real results that Becky and I work towards. And this is just a collection of data inside of Discover. And we did two different aspects. We looked at the extracurricular impacts on student success from a secondary school level, but we also looked at it from an elementary school level as well. So here at the very top, we wanted to kind of quantify some of the climate measures that are happening across the data. We brought in the structured achievement records from a secondary school. But of course, you can see that we have the fall student surveys from both high school and middle schools. And then we broke it down by looking at um, the actual impact that it has on achievement comparisons. So in terms of tiering, when Becky and Scott and I can know Scott's on the call as well, we looked at the comparisons against those students that are actually doing zero activities, extracurricular activities versus two plus or two or more. Now you can see in the data here, it is tabular, and I did transcribe it into more of a graphical form, but you can actually see that there's measurable impact on their GPA. And I was so nervous too, right, Becky, in looking at this together that I was hoping that it wasn't the other way around when I was doing the analysis. But when it came back like this, I was like, gee, this is amazing, right? We did also highlight some opportunity schools, right? We did a little bit of filtering here, but looking at kind of just the academic impact against the secondary schools, I think, yeah, maybe you can speak into it, Becky. Like, what was your thoughts when you first started to see this?
Yeah, I was just impressed with just the rich amount of data and it goes from super high executive level to data that I can share directly with principals and buildings around next steps. Within this initiative, we also have a position called an engagement navigator. And their goal, their work is to really engage the kids who were not engaging. And this gives a wonderful blueprint for them to really dive in and start to set some goals for their work going into next year.
Awesome. I'll actually back up to the attendance one as well, right? Because we did actually do attendance comparisons or like how is the impact of extracurricular activities on attendance, right? And so here you can also see that those that are actually spending more time doing extracurriculars post on the bell, they actually have a higher percentage of attending school, right? Were any of these kind of surprise to you, Becky, or did it kind of confirm some of your earlier findings?
Yeah, it confirmed our earlier findings and gave us action steps to go with it. So
Awesome.
it was nice to see that confirmation.
Great. We did also look at it from an elementary school perspective as well, right? And so the elementary school data was slightly different, but we did have a bunch of climate surveys from the fall. Now, the performance comparisons on the achievement data was not, of course, GPA, but yeah, reading and math proficiency levels. And you can see here that actually even in the math and proficiency levels, those that are in the tier three category actually do have higher rates of math proficiency and higher rates of reading, right? Across the board. I'll bump back and you can see that there are a number of different things. One last part maybe you can speak to as well, Becky, and then I'll show the actual graphic is I wanted to, when I was working with Becky and Scott, I thought about what if we could personify the cohorts, right? To show you a little bit like of an empathetic view as to who are these people that are disconnected, right? Or who are the people that are starting to slip? And then what about the other groups that we can learn from, the focus segments and the highly engaged achievers, right? So I think what we were trying to do here is to provide you a bit of a narrative of who are these people, right?
Mm.
Yeah, so let me know
Yeah.
what your thoughts were there, Becky.
Yeah, again, in a district of 28,000 students, this helped kind of narrow the focus. Again, those actionable insights I keep speaking to. We know there's a group of students that are disconnected and struggling. And so this brought in some of the either student voice or data points around really why are they struggling and suggestions that then we can move forward with on how to engage them in this initiative.
Yeah. And by the way, Leo is just a
Yeah.
fictitious name that we came up with, but
Mhm.
I'll move away and I'll actually provide a bit of a glimpse into a visual graphic or an infographic that Becky and I also and Scott worked on. I thought it would be a good kind of one-pager takeaway to kind of round out some of the findings from this. And so you can see the impact that it's had from an elementary's perspective, where you can see, hey, there's been an 18-point bump on math proficiency, 14 points on reading, a drop in chronic absenteeism by almost 18%. You can see the impacts across both attendance and academics. And some of the particular activities that kind of have a measurable impact. Becky, maybe you can just speak into how we were talking about there could be a bias on how, the students that actually participate in a lot of extracurriculars are maybe of the type A type, but maybe there's something here where we can actually learn from those and nudge people in the right direction.
Yeah, we are able to see which activities are producing those outcomes. Um, Actually, one thing for me I wanted to share is something like this. So I opened with a little bit about my work is to tell a data story, and this one pager, when I saw this, like this was like a game changer for us because it while within Discover are the super rich district level insights, this is something we can share with the community, to our stakeholders, to the Engage RL for us is a county-wide initiative where we're working with multiple partners. And this is something that we can share out more broadly to show the impact of their investment and the positive impact it's making on our students.
Awesome. Um, I think the last part is I just did summarize a few of the key takeaways. So let me just go back to the slide deck. And I think this is kind of where we landed. But really proving a path to 80%, I think was our long term. Maybe just a 2-minute glimpse into what we're thinking about for tomorrow. And I think you had our last meeting, we discussed potentially liberating some of these insights and filtering it to a school site level so it allows them to action their own data. Maybe you can speak into the future thoughts of what you're looking for.
Yeah, Momo and I have been talking over the last couple of months. As a larger school district in our area, we have 56 schools, and what does it look like to break this information down to the school level? So that's some of the work we're going to be working through as a next step is how do we then push out results at the school level to our leaders so they can set this is a school improvement goal for us. They can use this going into August as they start to develop their school improvement plans for next year.
Awesome. Becky, it's been so great to work with you on this project. And I think extracurriculars for me as well as I have a bit of a soft spot with. So it's been awesome to see that the actual the data and the obviously the upstream work that you guys are doing day in, day out. So Dave, did you have anything else to add before we go on to the next speaker?
Just to triple down on, I wanted to tie the loop between the legitimacy that occurs when you're able to actually show the investment to a community, to be able to actually show the impact. You spend a lot of time talking about these projects and plans that you're working on, talking to your community, asking them to fund your mandates, and to be able to actually show the impact of them and tie them back to the data as well as to the voice from people is just it's just exactly what we're talking about. So thanks, Becky. And for those of you on the call, the call is very real. When you have a decade-long customer that hasn't seen our adaptive platform and hadn't seen Discover. I told Becky and Scott and Adam and the team is I would not sleep well at night until they actually understood what Thought Exchange is up to now. And I'm so happy that we sort of renewed our relationship for another decade moving forward. So thank you so much for that story, Becky.